So our next speaker created a product that has made a huge splash in the design world. It, I believe, launched in 2010. It won an Apple Design Award in 2012, and since then it has been rare to spot any designer who does not sport that yellow gemstone in their dock. Sketch is an easy-to-use graphics editor that is getting better all the time, and here to tell you more about it is Pieter Omvlee. And also we have a little laptop switch out, so we're just going to do that. Keep clapping. Yay! Yeah, Pieter! Yeah, I can close it. I'll take that from you.
So, again, Sketch. Thank you all. I'm really excited to be here and show off some of the new things that we have been working on and that we hope to release in the next couple of months. So I don't have any slides. I'm just using Sketch directly because it's a bit painful to switch between Sketch and Keynote and go from one display to two and back. So I'm just going to try to do all of this in Sketch. This is a special build that has all the new features sort of in there, so it is a beta. So I hope everything will go well. I'm also relying on Wi-Fi. It's also very dangerous. So I just hope this is going well. So we did this last year as well for the first time. We were asked to speak here and I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun if we just showed off some new features? And yeah, that seemed to go well enough that we wanted to do it again this year. Although it did mean that we created a bit of an artificial deadline for ourselves. A bit again like Apple with their spring deadlines of, okay, we need to get something ready for this demo. So some of this stuff is still in private beta and not ready yet. I just want to quickly highlight what we announced last year. So there was designing with data. The idea was that you get easy access to sort of randomized representative text and images. So you can think of like user avatars that you can just cycle out, things like names of cities to go off the beaten path of London, Tokyo, and San Francisco. You can write your own plugins to do that, and this one translates to Spanish, if the Wi-Fi works. Yeah. And you can add your own data sources for whatever is appropriate for your company. So this was the main thing we announced last year, plus a bunch of other things. And then, of course, Apple hit us with WWDC 18 with dark mode on the Mac, which prompted us to do a redesign of the entire app over summer, plus all the features we announced, plus supporting dark mode itself. So we've had a very busy year. It seems like Apple has been slightly kinder on us this year. So let's just move on to the new things that we're going to show off today. And so there are sort of three major new features that I want to talk about. And again, these are early betas, so let's hope that this works. The first thing, some of it has already shipped in version 55 that went out 2 weeks ago, and it's like this is not one big new feature, but it's a number of tools to help you make it easier to work with a bunch of layers in the canvas. So we have easy distribution of layers. This went out a couple of weeks ago, but we've not stopped there. So we have another nice little tool here. In the top right, you can see a button to tidy it up. It creates a grid for us. And thank you. And so this also allows me to show off that this was already working, but it's now multi-dimensional grids. And also, they are now also supported, and this will come out in the next update. It works well with various kinds of grids, like it doesn't need to be this tight and organized. For example, this Pinterest-style grid also works. Like I can do it like this and like this. So it's a very flexible new tool. We have much more planned for this, but not ready to show here at the moment. But yeah, I'll just move on to the next one, which is work that we've been doing on components as symbols, layer styles, text styles. So we've actually done a lot of small improvements here over the last year, like layer styles and text styles can now be overridden in symbols. You can include them in libraries, and specifically for symbols, the overrides here now show up here in the layer list as well, and you can just hover over these to immediately select them. What you can now do in the next update is just double-click this and enter a new text value here, so you no longer have to jump over to the inspector to enter your text. So that should be nice. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was this, like this long, deeply nested. So this got a little out of hand. We didn't quite realize people would create so many symbols and create such deeply nested hierarchies. And so we've been working on something to replace all this. And so what we've been working on is a components panel, which is sort of a permanent sidebar to replace the layer list when you want it, and you can just drag stuff out. Thank you. So this is just a mock-up from the designers, which I'm showing you first because it's not quite ready yet. So I first wanted to show you the more polished version before we dive into a demo, which we can do now. So the attentive ones among you will have seen there's a components button here in the top right. If I click on that, the entire list swaps out to reveal all the symbols that have been defined in this document. And then I can just grab a symbol and drag it in, and I have it here. And then I can just drag in as many symbols as I want. There's a search at the bottom, so I can just search to make it a lot easier to find stuff in these deep hierarchies. The second pain point is sort of like we were relying on the names of layers with the slashes in them to build these hierarchies. And that was a neat little hack, but it gets very annoying if you want to dramatically change the way you want this hierarchy to work, because you have a lot of renaming to do, and it's very fiddly. So in this new version, I can just, if I decide that I want this accessory button to go in another group, I can just drag it to the first group, and it shows up there. And so just very, thank you. Just very easy reordering with drag and drop rather than having to rename layers. So you can create new groups, yeah, just a much easier way to work. Now this also works in the inspector on the right. So if I click here, I get a pop over version of this with a search, and I can swap it out for a different symbol. Same goes with layer styles and text styles. So this should all make it a lot easier to interact, to get new symbols in your document and organize your libraries the way you want to. Again, what you've seen here is early. It lacks some visual polish. A few things go wrong layout-wise, but again, it's a beta, and I hope you will like it once it's finished. Third thing I want to talk about is improvements we've wanted to make for a while about like the layout inside symbols. So the classic example here is that with the symbols and libraries, it's very easy to define like a style, the style that you want designers to use inside the entire company. So this is our company. This is what we use as a button in the company, but if I add longer text here, then it just runs over the edge, which is what nobody wants. So we wanted to solve this in some way. What we didn't want was to to invent like a complex way of setting constraints and a new way to learn how to do this stuff and reinvent like something like auto layout. We didn't want to reinvent the HTML and CSS and build a completely new layout engine. What we really want with Sketch is that you can just always pick up your layers and position them however you want. And Sketch should be smart enough to derive from that what you want the layout to be. So let me just give you a demo. Here at the top we have a symbol master and we have a symbol instance. So now if I just override the text, it just automatically shrinks down, and if I put longer text here, it automatically grows. So the question is, how does this work? Well, let's have a look at the symbol master. This is just a text layer, center text, and flexible width, because if we add more text, we want it to grow in width. Now the other thing is there's just a background shape, is just a shape with a certain color. And here's the symbol master, and you will spot there's a new layout section there. And that's the only thing you need to tell Sketch, like, is this primarily a horizontal layout or is this a vertical layout? Well, in this case, it's clearly horizontal, because as you add more text, you want it to grow or shrink horizontally. And from there on, Sketch figures out what all the horizontal margins should be, and that's why this works. Now, this is a very simple example. I can show you slightly more, I can show you a few more examples. Here, for example, let's assume this is some notification that appears on your lock screen, so it's fixed width. But as you add more text content in, you want it to grow in height. So what you do here, you give it a vertical layout, top to bottom, and in the text layers, you just specify them both as being fixed width and flexible in height. And then if I just add content here, sorry, little data plugin to make my life easier, you can just see it pushes down the second button. It just leaves the image, the shape, the warning triangle where it is, because here I've just said, well, pin it to the top left and right and keep its size fixed. So it just does the right thing. A slightly more complex example we still have. This is one where we want the two text fields and the title to grow in height. If more content is added, which should also push down these buttons. But if I override the big done button there, I want the cancel button to move over to make room for the new text content. So on the symbol master, you just here at the bottom you specify a vertical layout, and then these two buttons are in their own group. And here on the right, I've specified that this is a horizontal layout from right to left. So if we go to I just changed something, so undo. If we go to the instance and I've put just more data here, you can see that it just grows. Everything pushes the buttons and the other text fields down. But if I override this with, again, longer text, it also pushes the cancel button out of the way. And so with these fairly simple tools, just defining a horizontal and a vertical layout, you can make your symbols much more powerful, and this should eliminate the need for many duplicate symbols that you might have used before for 1-line, 2-line, 3-line variants. I could show you many more examples, but I don't have that much time. So what I want to say, we out there, we have a booth with a couple machines that are running the same version. We have staff that will be very happy to talk you through this feature yourself. Have a play with it yourself and let us know what you think. We are really curious to learn what you think of all this. So these were the three sort of main features that I wanted to talk about. But there is, well, sort of one more thing. Um, and for that, we go back to sort of the early days of when we started working on Sketch. And the idea was really to just help people design better products. Now, in the early days, that meant mostly get out of their way and just give them a simple tool that just contains what they need, because these people were coming from Photoshop and those bloated tools. So just the design tool that does what users need. Now we've added things like textiles and symbols and libraries later on in, because, well, no designer really works alone, and especially in larger companies, there are teams of designers working together, and you need to exchange these assets, and you need to work from a standardized basis. And the next step there sort of is to give people a better platform to do all of that, but also make it easier for designers to share and we get feedback from other stakeholders in the company. Like that phrase that you hear, like designers have a seat at the table now finally, but they need tools to communicate and collaborate with other people at the table, developers, marketing, and other stakeholders. So we've been working on what we're calling Sketch Cloud, which is a single space, a shared space where all the designers in a team can work together, collaborate both with each other, share and receive feedback from other people in the company, and of course, us being Sketch, we can deeply integrate this within Sketch itself. So this is a beta, this is early days, but I can show you that in a little bit more detail now. So this is the part that will heavily rely on Wi-Fi. So I go to Safari, and here I have this is our little test team so this is our little Sketch Cloud test team where we have a number of files here added. There are a number of people invited to this to collaborate. So I can click on this document and explore it. I can see the artboards that have been created in this document. On the right, I can see the various versions that people have worked on. I can click back to those versions, but I can also play back one of the prototypes that has been created there. So let's do that. And I can just scroll through this prototype that I set up in Sketch. And if I want to leave a comment on one of these artboards, I can just go back to the overview. Here again, you can see the artboard, you can see the updates that have been made. You can see the comments that people left. For example, Chris here was asking about how this view scrolls, because in an earlier version, as you can see, the prototype wasn't set up to scroll, and it was updated in a later version. So if I just go back to the latest version and play again the prototype, indeed you can see that it now scrolls. Now let's have a look at another document. So far the Wi-Fi is keeping up, which is really good. For example, here again, there's a bunch of versions. There is a bunch of artboards, and this one looks weird. Just checking here, the spacing. As James said, the spacing doesn't look quite right. So let's see if we can fix that. I could open the document in Sketch from here, but let's do it another way and just go to Sketch itself. And here, a file. I can open a cloud document from here. The window appears. I can see the music app. I can open it. So please, Wi-Fi. It's not the fastest Wi-Fi here. So it's going to download the document, open it on my Mac, and here I can see all the artboards in the file. And indeed, I can see that this is a bit messy. So let me just quickly fix that here. I can use the tidy button here. I can increase the spacing a bit, because that does seem a bit tight. So let's do something like this. So that looks a little bit looks a little bit better because the rest of the UI is also kind of spacious. Now, when I save the edit here, it will push the change back to the shared cloud environment, and then we should be able to go back to the browser and see that. I can just see that the Wi-Fi is. Okay, let's have a look here. Yeah, there we are. See, we have the updated artboard visible here. We go from this to this, and I can say. And I fixed it for you. So, there we are. So this was a quick demonstration. But just like Apple, we also made a little video, because why not? So let's give this a go. Sound should work. Happy to hear you like that. So the sketch for team stuff should be available in public beta next month. So everything that you've seen now should come out next month. Quick recap, because I'm running short on time. We've talked about smart distribute. We've talked about the new components panel. We've talked about smart layout, Sketch Cloud, and again, we have a booth where you can play with all of this stuff, and our people would be very, very eager to hear your feedback about all of this. And for now, thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you.